Doctor Who, Season 1, Episode 3. Boom.
Boom, 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 boom.
No, it's boom, 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 boom. I want you in my room.
Well, I think he was going with Under Pressure or Vanilla or Ice Ice Baby. It's the same
Either
thing.
one.
But Under Pressure definitely seems like a more apt.
Although I'm kind of surprised Doc knew that other song.
I'm not. That is wow. That song's been around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, turns out don't blow up the Doctor because
Yeah.
the
Well,
Doctor
don't-
will blow up half the planet.
Well, don't
I
turn
guess
the
you could
Doctor
say
into a
he
bomb.
really is the bomb.
You can blow him up, just don't turn him into the bomb.
Yes, that's the whole thing with that. It's just like, yeah, don't turn him into a bomb because he's way too complex. You'll blow up half a planet. I'm surprised it was that little.
Hey, let's shoot the guy on a mine, why don't we?
Yeah, but that wouldn't really help his problem.
I was being sarcastic.
But yeah,
I was more surprised. The biggest surprise of this episode is how they managed to make it a full episode.
True. I mean, they did it.
Yeah, and it does have the interesting thing of, as much as this, like, most of the stuff that was moving was CGI. There was a little scene at the camp, but like 99% of this episode is like a bottle episode. It's just sort of like, oh yeah, we made a few ambulance robots to sort of have something physical there, if they even bothered doing that, and and then like we need a valley, like a little, not valley, but a little crater or something, and and a little disc with green LEDs we can light up. It's like, yeah, most of this set wise was pretty, pretty simple. Like there wasn't like a lot of different sets going on here. It's like, yep, we're here, we're in this crater, and that's like 90% of the episode. Spent a little time over there, but
save on production costs.
Yeah,
True.
There's a lot more. There was a bit more CG because you had all the holograms, and then you had the stuff flying over, and all the like long shots of the area where you had big wide sort of panoramas of the battlefield and the whatnot. But yeah, for most of the actual physical stuff, like, this was probably a pretty cheap episode when it came to physical stuff that they had to build, or sets they had to get. Like, oh yeah, just like a crater, and then like any random camp, like sort of survivalist camp that they could get their hands on as a set, and then just slightly redress it so it doesn't look quite the same. Make a few like of the little, a couple of the little casks, the little caskets, the whatever you want to call those little things that they had. I forget what they called them, but like, yeah, you make a few of those. The ambulances, give them some sort of dirty, some dirty uniforms, and I find it funny also that like this was also like it half seems like somebody rated the costumes like, okay, so we need a religious uniform and a military uniform for all these. What? Don't ask. It's Doctor Who. It's weird. But yeah, it wasn't a particularly it's done well, but it's sort of when you stop and take a step back, you just realize just how little like actual sets they had to use for that, and still managed to carry off a very good episode. Like it's got tension, and it it didn't need 10,000 sets. It just needed, oh yeah, here's a couple sets and some good writing, and we're like, there you go, there's some episode. But
And this episode was kind of political, but in a way I like, because like honestly, it's right. Most war nowadays is just to make other people richer.
that's the military-industrial complex.
Yeah.
That's what this is about. It's like, and they did it in the way this is classic science fiction.
Oh yeah.
We're going to take this idea that we want to throw in your face. This idea, we want to make sure you get our message out of this. But we're going to take that idea and we're going to wrap it in an allegory. We're going to have this thing be, oh, well, it's this, and oh, it's this, and oh, it's that. It's not, if you saw what we came out with, then you acknowledge what we're saying. Like, if you got nothing out of this episode, you don't realize what we're saying. But if you understood it, you understood our message. We didn't ever say that was our message, but you knew enough to know what we were getting at.
Oh yeah.
You can watch this episode and not know, if you knew nothing about any of this stuff, any of this political stuff. You can still watch this episode and still get what's going on. Then just say, oh, that's them. But the more you know, oh, okay, well, this is trying to reflect off of this thing that's happening. And so, yeah, that's good science fiction.
Oh yeah.
It's it's a core message wrapped in a story that can be read on its own, but if you understand what they're talking about, you get what they're trying to say about the world. But
Doc, are you asleep?
Not really. I'm just
Okay.
ran out of things to say.
Oh.
So I was just scrolling.
So one little thing I thought was kind of cute. It didn't really add to the story that much. I thought it was cute, but I thought it was cute when just Ruby locks the door. Because I don't think any of the other companions have ever actually locked the door. Because I think like the TARDIS like self locks itself, but Ruby's just like, eh.
Well, it's sapient. It's got intelligence. Well, she's got intelligence, so it isn't a thing. She's a sapient, intelligent being. Like, you can't see the living systems usually, but they're there.
Yeah. Okay, I know she lost her father, but God, I hated that child.
Yeah. Well, I hate children in general.
True, but this kid, you nearly got everybody killed.
Right?
It was a little surprising. Like, how did you find your way out here that quickly? I think they did mention it, but it was like for a split second. It was like, I don't remember, but yeah, it was like into a war zone, huh? Whoever let you do that? Not a good idea.
Also, I gotta say though, Ruby was very calm for the fact she was holding a dehydrated corpse.
She didn't know right away.
I mean, after the doctor told her.
Yeah, but the doctor was telling her not to freak out because otherwise he'd die.
True, but even still, like most people would be like, ah. So I'm glad she still kept her calm.
Yeah. And
You know what that thing looks like.
Yeah, and how did he
She
not
said
notice the eyeball?
she said flashlight thing, but I think there's a different vowel in
Oh
there.
god, hey, no, no. You know somebody after watching this episode is gonna make a replica of that.
Yeah.
And
I
also,
mean,
that thing had an eyeball. How did she not notice the eyeball?
I don't know.
Okay, now time for the elephant in the room. Doc, where the bloody hell was your sonic screwdriver?
Yeah.
Would have been
And
ended in a second or a few
well,
seconds.
no. See, the thing was, he
he
couldn't
couldn't
move,
really move.
so he couldn't reach into his
He,
pocket to get his Sonic.
he couldn't even look down. He and like he had to have her throw her that thing, the corpse, in order to adjust his weight so that he could do a whole um
He could put a foot on the ground
Indiana
instead.
he could do an Indiana Jones thing where he like shifted his weight.
Yeah. So
Okay, note to Doctor then. Upgrade sonic screwdriver to a voice-controlled sonic screwdriver.
well, he did say he tried to undo it before in a separate situation on a bet or something, and he didn't work then either.
Yeah, he tried to do it, but nobody was standing on it, and he lost the bet. So
Yeah. So like you could be saying that this is a very difficult thing to disable on its own. Like you need to sort of hack it to get it to turn off. But you need to hack it in a different way to get it to turn off. But so it kind of gave you two layers of why you didn't just disable it. It's like, yes, because screwdriver is in pocket and he can't reach into it, and he's tried it before and it didn't work. So,
True.
uh, so
Uh,
at least they explained that.
he rambles when he's nervous.
and I think I already know the
Who would ever
answer.
do that?
Yeah. I think I already know the answer to this, but ambulance lady. That's like the same old lady, right?
Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
And okay, and lore, um, the song. From what I remember seeing, like there was a comparison, like he sung that song before in classic episodes or something.
Um, I don't remember.
Like I vaguely remember
But that
browsing by YouTube and seeing them compare like that, and there was some other thing that they were comparing it to, and maybe he was singing that one before.
although keep in mind the original series is literally 26 seasons.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how.
Full seasons, not like 8 episodes and calling it a day.
Yeah. Well, I figured if one of the three of us knew if that was what the if there was another thing to that, if
just because when I order food and stuff, it's delivered to doc or doctor, which is what happened yesterday. I ordered food to work because I didn't have anything to pack for lunch, and they delivered it, and it's to doctor. And so the person up at the front who had received it is like, I don't know any doctor. What? Who's named doctor? And I'm like, oh, that's mine.
well, I mean, it's more of a I have no idea. Madrock
Yeah.
probably doesn't have an idea about where it came from. Maybe
I just thought it
like
was a random made-up song.
no, I think it's an actual song, but I think it's been because it sounds like it's a. I didn't look into it much, but it sounds like it was an older song that just sort of he sang, but uh, but I do remember seeing like a YouTube video that's like comparison when it had one in black and white and one in color, and it was like comparing this song to this song, this moment to this moment. It's like, okay, well, if anybody knows where that's from, Doc might, but again, just being the most likely to know. um, but yeah, okay, yeah, it's very much see an anti-war thing.
I like anti-war. I'm anti-war.
But yeah, anti-military industrial complex.
I mean, to be honest, it does feel like that's where life has been going. It's like consumerism and commercialism gone way too far.
Oh
Yeah. Well, and it's also like military industrial complex, but also mines are a big thing in places where war has gone past, because a lot of a lot of places still use mines, or the conflicts are oh, here's some more mines. So now, once everything's done, then you got to go back through and demine that and hope no kid wanders into the minefield and gets blown up because they didn't read the sign or can't read. And they slip out and walk into the minefield.
Oh, that's why. The song was played on the second Doctor's recorder in Web of Fear. It wasn't like sung, and it wasn't the lyrics. It was he played it on his recorder.
Okay, that makes sense. That's a nice callback where it's believable. It's a song we know he knows, and he's singing it, and it's like, which this Doctor does like to sing. He sings on a pretty regular basis.
And that's the tune that the Doctor Master played in Power of the Doctor.
Okay.
When he had the recorder.
Okay, so it's even appeared more recently. Yeah, I didn't know the song, so I was like, okay. But yeah, so that was nice. It's a nice callback. It's subtle enough, it's simple enough, but it's believable enough that if he was trying to calm himself down, it would be something that he's familiar with, something nostalgic, and something that we already know he knows and likes enough to play.
Okay, so I think I think I like missed something. So, did they set up the mines, or just like forgot they set the mines, or did the algorithm set the mines?
The algorithm set it up. Like those ambulances and stuff.
Okay.
The corporation set the mines out for them.
Okay.
And they're just the fodder. They're the NPCs. And the corporation sets up the weapons and all that. And I mean, I get it. The corporation's like, oh, you need to fight something. Go declare yourself as I'm taking over this planet. And oops, you just triggered our war thing. So now you're going to start a war with yourselves so we can make more money.
God, I hate it, but at the same time, I have to respect it.
Right?
Shit. Ugh. Although, I do have to say though, the smelting technology isn't too bad. I mean, if we had that, we could save a lot of money on graves.
Well, it's basically really fast incineration. It's what's it called? You burn the body instead of burying it.
Oh.
My brain is just.
Although, I don't know why, but I'm trying to imagine what that feels like in your hand. Like I'm thinking kind of like a tacky sensation, kind of dry and a little tacky. Now when you like kind of touch something, you lift your hand up, it kind of sticks to your hand a little bit.
Mhm.
Maybe at first, but maybe I would think it would be like, okay, this is supposed to be a memento of somebody, so they probably figured out a way to make that sort of more like there's a sealant on it, like a you know, like
Like a flashlight.
they convert something within the body into a sort of a plastic to wrap the whole thing in.
Yeah.
I mean, the Autons have done it. Why not?
But hey, uh, go AI dad. We have destroyed the virus. Oh no, you didn't.
Yeah.
Although Monday's rise, like no point in running.
Yeah, if it's gonna blow up half the planet, you might as well not, you know, you know, you're you're not gonna get away from that. Not in the time you have. So why waste all that effort?
I love how the doctor says, "Mud people." Are you kidding? Mud people are nice people. Because I'm gonna say, it's like, doctor, if you're gonna say mud people don't exist, have you seen the places you've been to?
uh,
Oh, what else? What else? Let's see. Snow stopped. Frozen time. Which,
which was weird, but it's something that it's one of those things where here's another puzzle piece for you to play with. Like it's it feels like this is something Davies is going, okay, here's a puzzle piece for that. Here's a puzzle piece for that. Here's a puzzle piece for that. And just like slowly giving us little bits, not enough to know what's going to happen necessarily, but just to sort of go, okay,
yeah,
something is definitely weird about her. Something's, well, she's a companion, so inherently weird things happen to her. Because you can't help but be interesting if you're running around with the doctor. Um, but yeah, it just feels like here's a little puzzle piece, here's a little puzzle piece. I'm not going to tell you enough to know what's going on, but enough that you can sit there and talk about it for the next few weeks.
yeah. And although it barely adds to my theory, like the snow itself kind of adds to my death theory, because when you think death, you kind of think cold and stuff. Uh,
Mm.
I don't know. I'm still sticking to my death thing. I might be wrong. Maybe right. Who knows?
Yeah.
Uh, let's see. Not really much. Not really much to the episode. Didn't really add that much to it.
Yeah, it really smacked you over the head with its message. Not in a bad way, but it spent a lot of its time talking about, you know, okay, here's all the ways what this situation is crappy. Here's another reason why this is a bad situation. A bad situation. This is stupid. This is immoral. Stop doing this. Just hitting you over the head with it, but not in a way that's like Orphan 55. Yes, you get the message,
Oh yeah.
but it doesn't feel like it feels like it's not just you know it's a well built episode, and then you also have it's woven throughout instead of just sort of dumped on you at the end when it doesn't make a lot of sense in an episode full of plot holes. Like no, it makes sense. Like this is a good episode, and then it's just sort of nicely woven throughout.
Yeah.
And it's not a big lecture to the audience as much as
That's
it is
true.
he's taught. It's believable that he would be talking and explaining this situation to
Hmm.
someone instead of talking to the people. It's like I'm talking to that character instead of talking to the audience, and we're just watching that conversation, and that conversation is believable. That's where you go from a good allegory episode where he's talking about stuff to Orphan 55. Well, Orphan 55 has way more issues in it than and more than just the talking down the pipeline. It's not the message as much as it is how you're delivering it, and this one delivers the message much better and doesn't, you know, doesn't treat its audience like it's stupid.
Which is
But
good.
Yeah, it still was personally not the best one of the season, although I keep seeing people like rave about it, and I mean it was well acted,
It
but
wasn't
I think it was a
bad. It
little
wasn't great.
it was just so meh to me. Like it was honestly the weakest one of the season so far.
it's
Yeah.
also episode 3, so
Yeah,
Yeah.
episode 3 is
Well,
always the worst
technically
episode.
episode 4 because you have the Christmas
Christmas,
special.
if you want a Christmas special, yeah.
Yeah.
But like out of, see, we're supposed to have what, 8 episodes this season,
hmm
so that's with, is that with the Christmas special or without the Christmas special?
9 with the Christmas special.
Okay,
So
not
we're a
with.
third of the way in.
Okay, so yeah, we're almost, so after next week's episode, we should
We're
be,
halfway.
we're halfway there, halfway through this. So like we've had 4 episodes where it's been 15, just 15. You had a little bit in the anniversary. You had the Christmas special. We've had 3 episodes. So there's not a lot to, even if it's the weakest of even if you do think it's the weakest, it's like okay. And then you amongst all the 15 so far, there's not a lot to stack. um, but you stack it against, you know, anything Chibnall wrote, and it's like, okay.
Well,
No,
not anything Chibnall wrote.
well, Chibnall
Because
show
anything
ran.
he led.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you stack it. You
Because
stack it up against what, a a the weakest Davies episode is a just is Chibnall at his very best. He can maybe reach an Davies episode, and I like this episode, but
Yeah.
it's it's you just that's it was yeah. I really I've said it before and I'll say it again. I what I really want to see is like, yes, give give 15 his chance to sort of establish himself, but I would like to see, you know, what Whitaker would look like, what her doctor would look like with a competent showrunner behind the
yeah,
helm.
no, I agree. Like I would like to see I I am really looking forward to them eventually making a Whitaker Big Finish because Big Finish have competent and well thought writers and directors and know how to make stories work.
Yeah, and because that's all they have to sell you on is
Yeah.
names and stories, and they've got to make that the writing work, or else the whole thing, because they have no visuals to save them,
Yeah.
everything has to be done by the writing. But yeah, like I'm like what I've seen, like from what I've heard, Whitaker is like, yeah, no, I'm totally up for it. And it's like, okay, like like you'd probably, if you can pull Smith away from what he's doing with Game of Thrones for, a day of shooting and a few days of shooting with that, and you can, like, Eccleston has said no no, no, and no. Tennant has said, like, well,
Yes.
Tennant hasn't said anything, but like, you can barely pry the man out of the blue box.
Come on, it's automatic yes.
Like, even when he regenerates, he still comes back again as a different regeneration.
I'll
Like,
always
you've been
be
3
back.
regenerations. Hell. Not that I'm mad about it, because I like Tennant. And it's funny that he just like he cannot leave that blue box. And it's funny to see him come back to it. Like, I know he can do other things, but it's just a lot of fun to see him do that. Smith would probably come back if he's got the time. I think it's mostly what his restriction would be time. Cause it sounds like he likes he loves doing that sort of thing. And then Capaldi has said, nope, I don't have that. I left it where I wanted to leave it. And that takes a lot of energy I just don't have. So, and then it's Whitaker who said, I think I've heard her say that, yep, she's totally cool with it. So, like, so you have 11, 13, and 15, 13, 14, and 15, which is also 10, but it's, so you'd even have him play as both 14 and 10. Give him some age regression if you can on 10 and have him play both parts as 10 and 14. But that's me going off on a tangent here at the end here. But I think we've got what we wanted out of this review.
Yeah. Although I do like one theory, not really in like a Doctor Who universe theory, but I'm wondering if the reason some of these episodes, I don't want to say cheap, because they don't really have cheap looking, but less dramatic than other Doctor Who seasons. I wonder if it's because if during the Chin Ball run, it didn't do that well, so they kind of lost some funding.
Maybe.
Lower risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but they're doing well with the money they're
Oh
getting.
no, yeah.
Because Davies is, better showrunner, so he can, like, yeah, like.
Oh yeah, that's good.
And look at look at his run, and there are some episodes in there that he's taken, like he worked with his writers and whatnot, but he's made it to where it's like he can do an episode in his show running eras where he's made an episode where it's not especially expensive, but it's really good. Like Blink, I can't imagine was ridiculously expensive. The only thing was the costumes for the angels.
Yeah.
Everything else is really cheap sets that aren't, that you probably have a billion of them available at the BBC. A video store, a hospital, uh, you know, a parking garage, an old house. It's
Yeah.
yeah. It's a really cheap episode, I imagine.
And next week's episode is called, I forget what it was called.
It's called 73 yards.
Something
yeah.
yards. It's a double digits yards.
Well, I got nothing more, so
73 yards, yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, I liked that one better, but we'll talk about that next week.
See you next week, everybody. You're fabulous. I'm sexy, but you're even more sexier. Goodbye.